Hello, this is Michael Diaz, also known as Painbot, here today interviewing Fatality, who has been winning everything lately. And he's a pretty nice guy. He comes to our tournaments all the time, so I'm pretty sure most of y'all want to hear a couple words about how he does his stuff and where he competes and his training regimen. So we're gonna here do a formal interview with him real quick and get all the details about how he's so effective and why he wins so much. All right, so you go ahead and introduce yourself, Fatal, if you want to.
Hey guys, my name is Griffin or SWS Fatality. I'm one of Georgia's best players, exclusive Captain Falcon main, and I go to basically all the tournaments.
Yeah, pretty much all of them when he can. So the first question I want to ask you is, where does your name come from, or did you come up with it yourself, or did your friends come up with it?
Well, I wanted to think of something that would feel kind of empowering at first, so I thought I know about Mortal Kombat fatalities, and I thought I'll try to think of myself as metaphorically doing that to my opponents, but in Smash. And that seems like a fine thing to name yourself after in that context.
Damn, that's brutal, especially for Smash. But it's a very empowering name.
It works for Captain Falcon especially since you can kind of just obliterate people.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're in there, it's pretty destructive. Are you pretty satisfied with your name choice?
It's worked out fine for me. I wouldn't change it.
Seems like it sticks pretty good. So, next question would be, how long have you been playing video games competitively? Is Smash your first competitive video game, or did you start somewhere else and move on to Smash?
Smash is my first competitive video game. I was mainly a Project M player. Started really playing that competitively about 2 years ago.
So
And
you,
then,
so you've just always been a Smash player, and you just migrated between Project M and Smash 4 now.
yeah, I would co-main the games, but Smash 4 is just so much more popular that it just makes much more sense for me to invest a lot more of my energy into that game now.
I see. But you're very effective at both, so it's not really cutting into you too bad. You seem to be
No,
winning
it's worked
both.
out.
It's been very effective. But obviously, I would say, who's your favorite character? But we all know it's Captain Falcon. So, so I have to ask you, why is Captain Falcon your favorite character?
Um, I enjoy characters that with a really diverse punish game potential. Even though Falcon tends to combo people in a lot of the same ways, you can create strings of almost anything, really.
Yeah, almost seems like you just customize according to what the juggle looks like.
Yeah, it's not, I don't really script my combos. It's more that I just mostly just try and react to the situation and read my opponent.
Yeah, that's why I normally notice when you're playing. You don't really have a go-to BMB. You kind of just I can see you kind of feel out what the situation is, go for what's correct. But that's pretty impressive when you land them all, actually, because it looks just like an onslaught. But so is how often do you really practice this game? I mean, do you devote a lot of time into this game?
I'd say I devoted a decent amount of time to it. Not that much time, like literally practicing, very little actually. I mostly just will study videos of top players, especially Zero, and just try and sometimes when I find a particularly interesting set, I'll write down detail. I'll write down a description from start to finish, detailing every single second of the entire match and breaking it down as far as I possibly can, trying to get into their heads and trying to understand literally every single decision they make and why they do it. And then I'm very focused on the psychology of the game. I spend the vast majority of my practice time, if you will, just thinking about that.
So most of your practice comes from playing in tournaments and studying the theory of what you should be doing.
Not necessarily what I should be doing, so much as what my opponent thinks I'm going to be doing, and then countering accordingly.
Ah, I gotcha. Seems to work pretty good, but you do have a very fast character, which kind of matches that kind of fighting style.
Yeah.
So, so you don't really, so since you don't really practice like that way, like a more traditional style, do you have any like training partners you play with at home, or you go meet with, and put the work into?
I play with the SWS crew a fair bit. Mostly Limbs, since he lives literally 3 minutes from my house.
Nice.
So it just makes a lot of sense for us to practice. We're very good friends too, so it just works out that way.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I had a neighbor kid that always played Street Fighter 3, and I would just play him all day, obviously, because he's the closest person, and he's the best person I have to practice with. But it's just nice that you have Limbs, because he's also a fairly decent player.
Yeah.
So about that group, did you start that group to help people like get better, or did you just do it to surround yourself with good training partners or potential teammates?
Mostly the latter. I just wanted to have a crew especially since I just think crews in general are hype and fun to have around. I know when in our early Melee days when crews were a very big thing, and then they disappeared. That made me really sad because a lot of the crew stuff was very hype and made the game a lot more fun in my opinion. So I guess co-forming my own crew is part of trying to jump in on that.
It is pretty fun to watch. But I mean, it's also impressive from a bracket standpoint when you see most of your same crew members in semifinals or 4th and 5th place, and it just looks like a dominant sweep.
Yeah, well, since we're all solid players and we all play a lot together, we just bounce off each other a lot and learn a lot. And I guess that reflects it appropriately in our tournament placings.
Yeah, it seems to be working pretty good for everyone that's in your crew. Do you win most of the tournaments you compete in? Like, from most of the perspective I have, I run the UDLR tournaments, and I also monitor some of the brackets from other tournaments, mostly Gwinnett Brawl. But I don't really pay attention to too many other Smash tournaments. It's not because I don't want to, but it's just it doesn't get in my feed that often.
Right.
So do you win just about every tournament here, mostly, or are there certain tournaments where a certain player shows up and kind of puts you off your game a little bit?
Recently I've been winning everything. I've had one or two rough patches in the past, but as soon as I bounced back out of it, I went back to basically winning everything.
Yeah, I've seen that lately. You seem pretty happy with your your money, your fight money.
Fight money's good. Of all the things to be making money doing, Smash is a good one.
Yeah, it's always good to make money on something you like to do.
It's like a really cool part-time job.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a sick part-time job that you can have fun doing. What kind of mental preparation do you do before your tournaments, if you do any? Is there any specific thing you do? Like, do you listen to music? Do you go run through scenarios in your head?
I mostly just meditate and listen to music.
Does it just help you keep your focus, or does it put you in like a zone to prepare for the tournament?
Well, I'm a very big music person in general, so music, at least what I listen to, is very relaxing to me. And so just being in a very relaxed state, it lets me focus as much as I can, and then I can play my smartest and execute my best.
Is there any particular music you like to listen to?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of heavy metal, especially black metal and death metal. let's see, and a lot of atmospheric avant-garde music.
You may have kind of the same taste in music. I'm more of a progressive metal, heavy metal kind of person, and I also like beats. But I like listen to before. I don't like to listen to while I'm playing. You don't do you always listen to music while you're playing, or do you just switch it up depending on how you feel?
Only I've come to the conclusion that playing without music is best, but I still love listening to it beforehand to calm me down and stuff.
Are there any players that you go up currently that you go up against that make you worry a little in a tournament?
Well, player one is always a concern. He's just a really, really good player. I've been able to win the recent encounters, but I'm obviously going to have to keep playing at my best, or that's going to change very quickly.
Yeah, everyone's out to become number one. You can't. If you want to be a top player, you have to really stay focused and keep training.
Reflexes is the other primary concern. I feel basically the same way about him.
So Reflex and Player One, they're both good players from my view and from where I've seen them compete. What are your goals for this year pertaining to competitive gaming?
Well, I want to top 8 some nationals. Maybe even win one.
Which nationals are you planning on competing in?
Well, I'm most likely going to CEO next month. Evo. Might be going to this regional in North Carolina next month. And then I just want to... I'm not entirely sure what specific events past then, but my goal is to use success in my hopeful success in my upcoming events to put myself in a position to where I just have much more control over what tournaments I can and can't go to, and then I'll just be able to go to a lot more nationals naturally.
Cool. I also plan to go to CEO, so I'll probably see you there then.
Sounds good.
Now, my last question for you is, do you have any advice for newer players on how to get better, or where they should start if they're wanting to improve their Smash game?
One of the biggest things is just to play lots of different people. Never be afraid to ask someone for advice, even if they beat you. I find that even that I know when I was much newer, every time I lost a set, I would ask my opponent why I lost. Sometimes they wouldn't want to answer me for whatever reasons, but for the most part, everyone was willing to give me at least a little bit of advice, and even if it doesn't necessarily feel the best for your ego to ask someone that just beat you what you could do, it's all about the long run. And then the other big thing is watching videos of yourself and studying them. One good way to quickly find out what is and isn't good is to specifically highlight every single time you lose the neutral game, try and understand why you lost it. Literally every single time you get touched. Pause it, analyze it, move on.
Sounds like solid advice. Do you have any other things you want to add before we end this interview?
Not particularly.
Well, it was nice having you on. We might do interviews in the future, so I'll definitely keep in contact with you whenever you need to get some more advice or talking about current events.
Sounds good.
All right, Fatality, it was nice having you on. Hope you have a good day.
You too, man. Alright, you have a good one.